Well, hello, hello, hello. Today we have migrated to my couch, so little new scenery every week for you as to where we're at. Getting nice and cozy, enjoying the last little bit of summer attire before Florida fall actually begins soon. So this week, thinking about in terms of American cinema, where we're at in the timeline now. So we're in the 40s, 1941. So we're in the heat of World War II. But the film that I've chosen to talk about this week is Citizen Kane, which was directed by Orson Welles and also stars Orson Welles as Charles Foster Kane, the main character. It was released in 1941, and the film won an Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. So a little bit about the plot. Charles Foster Kane, a man who grew up with more money than he knew what to do with. He ran a bunch of newspapers, made a run for governor. He got married twice. He was a large public figure, very controversial public figure. And at the very beginning of the film, he dies. There's this cinematic, thematic motif, visual motif of him having this snow globe, and it falls in his hand and it cracks as the nurse sees that he's died. That's the very beginning. I'm not spoiling anything for you. But the last word he says is Rosebud. So people find out this is the last word that he says, and then this journalist spends essentially the entire film interviewing people that he knew in his life that are still alive about what they think the word Rosebud means. And so the entire film is a series of flashbacks of Charles Foster Kane interacting with these people that this journalist is interviewing. It's a rather long movie, but it's extremely entertaining, very intriguing. The story, the mystery of it all really pulls you in. The flashbacks are done well. The American Film Institute actually ranked it at the top of their 100 films over the last 100 years, both in 1998 and 2007. The plot is intriguing and interesting on its own merit. However, the technical skill and the poetic prowess of the film are what make it a memorable one. While certain technical things such as the use of diegetic and non-diegetic sound are a big part of what make the world of the story. It's really the cinematography for me that is truly what's astounding. While the cinematography in itself throughout the film is amazing, they take, especially for this time period in 1941, they take advantage of the technology they have. What's really interesting is the use of certain things to create the poetic prowess of the film. So there's several shots that use the concept of infinite regress. So if you think about if you've ever been in a bathroom where there's a mirror on one side and a mirror on the other side, if you look in the mirror, it's this constant, infinite pictures of you looking at yourself in the mirror. You can see yourself from behind and the front, and it's like this juxtaposition that goes on and on and on and on. So they make use of that in the film, and it's been used before, especially in this time period, and people realize this is a thing. The French New Wave movement used it, it's a thing. And but it creates this ambience that the viewer, because they're looking at themselves, it's this objectification of self, as well as in the objectification of oneself, there is a moment of self-reflection for the character, which as the viewer you pick up on, right? Creating this visual, using this visual technique of infinite regress and this constance in the mirrors. And the notion of frame within a frame, so objectifying something within what's being objectified. So we have the frame of the lens, and then in it there's a mirror frame, and then within that there's the infinite regress happening. So it's a lot of little tiny technical merits that you can do with set that are caught on camera that really create this poetic prowess of the film. So I personally find Citizen Kane to be a critique on capitalism. The overabundance of material things material wealth that Charles Foster Kane accumulates throughout the film. And we see in his life, once he's died, they're auctioning it off, selling it, throwing it away, burning it. It really is a critique on what it means to have a life well lived. Yes, when people are remembering him, he was a giant public figure and whatnot, but he dies alone on his giant estate. And then whenever this journalist is going and meeting with all of these people that knew him really well, the stories they tell are ones that have to do with work, making money, losing money, cheating on his wife, those really aren't the stories you want to be told about you once you're dead. You also don't want to die alone. So that's kind of like my personal, the theme, the moral of the story that I take away from it. But in summary, Citizen Kane, it most certainly deserves its place in the canon of American cinema. And after viewing it, I completely understand why. I get really mad at myself because I don't really ever take time outside of academia to like look at classic films, and there's a lot to be taken away from them to understand how filmmaking is today. It's super fun to watch current films and what's new at the box office and whatnot, but taking back and looking at these like classics, there's a reason why they have their spot in the canon of American cinema. So I don't know, it's really interesting. So next time we'll be moving down the timeline a little bit. I think we're getting to the 1960s, getting around Halloween. Probably got some fun stuff coming up. So